Yo, what's up, guys? I want to talk to you guys today about the things that I love about living in South America. So this video is for anybody who is curious about traveling to South America, wants to know a little bit of an insider's perspective. So first things first, a little bit about myself. I've been living and traveling in South America for just about a year now, and so I'm here to share my experiences for anybody who is maybe curious about walking down a similar path. Okay, so I've been to the countries of Peru, Brazil, and Colombia. A little bit less as much for Brazil because I only went to one city, but it still technically counts, right? And so I'm going to be going to Ecuador soon. And so, like I said, I just wanted to share some of my experiences about the things that I love living in South America. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right into this. And so the first thing that I absolutely love about South America is the living expenses. Okay, I'm coming from Colorado, Denver, Colorado. When I was living there, my living expenses were really about $2,000 a month at a very bare minimum at any given time. Okay, fast forward to my current situation, I'm only spending $500 a month. That's my current living expenses. So cut my expected living expenses into 25%, and that's what you would expect for at least my circumstance moving to South America. And so that really falls in line with just about anything: food, for housing, but really just about anything else. Okay, you'll notice that essentially all the prices for just about anything that you would expect in Colorado are much lower, for example, in South America. Just about anywhere you go, big city, small city. Okay, so that's the first thing that I really like, is the cheap living expenses. Okay, that brings me to my second point, or the second thing that I love about South America, which is the Culver lifestyle. Okay, a lot of people here, it's not really focusing on always working hard every single day of the week, 24/7, 365, at least 8 hours working every single day. Well, in all reality, people here tend to place, oh my goodness, happiness above their income. And so a lot of people don't really make a whole lot of money. And, for example, when I make $500 a month, that's actually above minimum wage here in most countries in South America. And so, point being, the Culver lifestyle tends to mean that the people here don't work as much as they would in, say, the United States. 3-4 hours a day is a pretty typical workday from, the experiences that I've heard from talking to other people here in South America. And I think, personally, this is just my personal theory, that it has a effect on the prices, and that might be part of the reason why the prices are low, just because people have less money because they work a little bit less. That's just a personal theory, and that's my second thing I love about South America, is just the calmer lifestyle. Okay, that brings me to my third thing I love, which is the public transportation. So if you were living in the United States like I was, traveling from city to city is pretty difficult if you don't have a car. Okay, and specifically, if you are living in Denver, Colorado, like I was, well, unless you have a car, traveling around the city of Denver, Colorado isn't really easy because the public transportation there it's not very good, but that's beside the point. What is the point is that the public transportation here in South America is better than it is, say, in Denver, Colorado. And it's also a lot cheaper. And so that's part of the reason why a lot of people will, one, not really buy as much cars, and the people who do buy those cars, they tend to get a lot more gas efficient vehicles. But overall, no matter if it's plane tickets or bus tickets, everything is cheaper here. Okay, you can find planes within a country. Say, for example, in Colombia, I could take a flight to across Colombia for as little as about $30 to $40. Okay, however, since I don't actually have a bank card and do all of my payments through another service, I tend to have to find more expensive deals on airplanes. So that's a problem I'm trying to fix myself. But you can find very cheap plane tickets and obviously bus tickets, much, much cheaper than, for example, Colorado. And so kind of going along with that, it goes on to the next thing I love about South America, which is better mobility. And so since there is better public transportation, affordable transportation, pretty, I guess we could call it cheap transportation, a lot of people are able to move around a lot more. And so they don't necessarily do this. And, for example, I'm in Medellin, Colombia. There's people who live here in Medellin, Colombia, and aren't traveling city to city like I do. But since the public transportation is so low, you have so much more mobility. And if you are a traveler and you are wanting to go around South America, you'll be able to take advantage of the better mobility that they have here and see all the sites that you want to see without having to pay too much money just for the travel. Okay, and so that brings me to my next point. Next thing that is awesome about South America is that there is more natural scenery. Okay, just case in point, the Amazon jungle. There's a lot less urbanization in South America than there is in the United States, for example. There's a lot of big cities, and in between those big cities, there's probably nothing or farming or something. It's all developed and it's all owned by somebody for the most part in the United States. There are some national parks and wildlife areas that are reserved for people not to touch. But all in all, in general, most of the continent of South America is untouched by humans because of the selva, or the jungle, excuse me. And so that's one thing that's really awesome. And obviously this isn't just the Amazon jungle, but many of the outlying parts of the Amazon jungle are relatively untouched by humans, which means you can just walk through and experience nature as it's supposed to be. That brings me to my next thing that I love is the food. Oh my goodness. No matter what your diet is, I tend to prefer a vegan diet, or if you're a carnivore, you are going to be able to find some amazing food in South America. Okay, there's lots of different examples, and one thing that sticks out that's relevant for myself personally is there is a huge selection of produce, fruits and vegetables. For example, potatoes. If you were to go, for example, to Peru, there's over 100 different types of potatoes that you can buy, and no two types of potatoes are the same. The same could be said about bananas. The same could be said about tomatoes. It's just the different types of food. If you have been living in one country for your entire life, you're going to get over to South America and be like, whoa, what is this? Lomo saltado, what is that? And it's a good thing because there is so much good food and so many new recipes for you to try. And they are very affordable because everything is affordable for anybody, no matter who you are in South America. All right, so now going ahead, aside from food, I want to talk a little bit about the people. The people here, they don't sit around and wait for somebody to help them out most of the time, or if they see something they don't like, they'll be the first ones to point out that they don't like that. The point being, the people here tend to take matters into their own hands a little bit more. For example, just a personal story to illustrate what I'm talking about. When I was in Iquitos, there was one day where I was living in Iquitos where the city was almost completely shut down. There was people protesting on the streets. Cars weren't really able to drive. And it's really just because they were taking matters into their own hands. And so what exactly were they protesting? Well, I don't really remember. But I was really shocked to see how quick or how big of an impact that little protest could have on just the city of Iquitos. And it's not just Iquitos, it's a pretty typical thing in South America for people to just rise up and stand up whenever they don't like something. And so that's one thing that's really awesome, is that the people really look out for themselves a lot more and don't just assume things are going to end up all right, and they make sure that they're going to be all right. And so going off of that last point, I wanted to talk about the next thing that I love about the culture over here is that it doesn't really fuel on violence. When I was living in the United States, there was always something, a shooting or a terrorist attack or something that they were talking about, and talking about whether or not people should have guns. And really, it wasn't until I got to South America that I started to realize, oh my goodness, the rest of the world doesn't really talk about these sort of things, and they really don't see them as problems in the first place. So, for example, I'm living in Medellin, Colombia right now, which, as only about 25 years ago was a war zone, and there was a lot of people dying here every day in Medellin, Colombia. But today, I feel safe walking around the streets of Medellin, Colombia, and in fact, it's as safe, if not safer, than my hometown of Denver, Colorado. And so that just puts it a little bit in perspective of what I am talking about. So I haven't heard of any sort of talk about wanting to start a war or bomb people or any of that. I don't hear about any of that over here in South America. And so maybe it's just my personal experience, but really I think the culture here doesn't fuel on violence as much. All right, that brings me to my next point, which is for any of you who are interested in living, as we say, off the grid. Well, South America is really going to be the place that you're going to want to do that. South America or Central America, because it is a lot easier to find places where there is no utilities and services, and it's a lot easier to get out into a remote part of town. One area that I would specifically highly recommend is the jungle, or the Amazon jungle. And what is so awesome about this off-the-grid lifestyle is that they tend to have a lot more sustainable practices. You know, if they're growing crops, they're not going to fill it with pesticides and all these other weird, unnatural chemicals. And they also figured out ways to live off of the Amazon River, and they could even drink water out of the river, for example. And so that's one thing that's really awesome about South America is the capability for people who want to live off the grid. This brings me to my last thing that I love about South America is that there's more personal liberty here in South America. Going back a long time ago, you know, the United States used to be, as they say, the land of opportunity. Well, I would argue that that area is now in South America. And I think that has a lot to do with, one, the cost of living, and two, just the opportunities for making money online that we have in today's age and becoming a digital nomad. And another thing that's really nice about South America is that there's not a whole lot of political backlash against people who want to do things that might be illegal in, say, the United States. So I'm not going to go too much into details here, but there's a lot of things that are legal in South America that are highly illegal in, say, the United States. And let me tell you, life is just as good here as it is over there. People are just as happy here as they are over there. And if anything, they live a Culver lifestyle. So maybe that has something to do with the fact that there's a little bit more personal freedom here in South America. All right, now, since I gave you guys 10 things that I love about South America, I did want to at least give you guys one thing that I don't like about South America. And so I did have to think about this one a little bit because, to be honest with you guys, South America is awesome. You would love it if you came here, okay? But anyways, that being said, there is one thing that I don't really like about South America. That's the immigration policies. There's, for example, a couple of countries here that have what we call reciprocal visa policies. For example, Brazil and Bolivia are two of those countries. And specifically what a reciprocal visa policy means is that you would have to go through the same process to go to their country as a person of their country or citizen of their country would have to go to your country. And so since the United States is pretty hard to get into, at least money-wise, and the amount of time that it takes to get your visa approved, those countries with the reciprocal visa policies are very hard, and it's a chore to be able to legally get into those countries. Other than that, most countries typically allow you to stay in their country for 6 months, no questions asked, but it can get a little old sometimes having to go to the immigration office and have them look over your paperwork, and you have to wait in line a couple hours. And so that's why I'm not a huge fan of the immigration policies in general. But that's all I have for you guys today. That's what I love about South America, and that's one thing that I don't like as much. So that's all I have for you guys. Have a great day. Peace.